Greg, we've been talking a little bit about the early days when we met back in the 80s. We met at the Great Smoky Mountain Camp, and that was my first meeting, not only with yourself, but Ajahn Chah, too. Would you talk a little bit about your early times with Ajahn Chah? I know you spent, a lot of time with him, and just, how that went, how it started, and kind of what he trained you in, and that type of thing.
Well, when I was 18 years old, I first met Ajahn Chah at the in Chicago at the old Dagerberg Academy, and myself and Rick Fay would travel around to as many seminars as we could. And Rick was having Guru Dan in initially, and then we started to have Ajahn Chah in as well, and that's really where it started. Then probably the biggest part of my meeting with him, which really got me close to him, was at the first Smoky Mountain Camp in 1985 when I went there, and I didn't really knew I needed a tent and all that stuff. And so next thing you know is he goes, well, you don't have a tent where you can sleep next to me at the next to my bunk. And I was like, really? And I felt kind of weird because here I was basically 20 years old at that time, and sleeping in the room. You got Guru Dan over there, and Larry Hartzell and Tim Tackett and all these people, and I'm just kind of sitting next to Achahn's bunk sleeping, and I just, wow, this guy kind of let me in under his wing, and it really started blossoming from there. And I remember really training with him quite a bit that first year, and then remember getting so excited to go see him again after learning some Thai boxing. I remember the switch kick. I was, learning switch kick and trying to do as best I can. I remember he was at Chicago, and I went up and I was going to show him how good I got at my switch kick. And I went up and said, back then we called him Master Chai, I've been really working my switch kick. Can you watch this? Check this out. And I did, and I just went for it best I could. He looked at me and goes, man, you kick like a kangaroo. And I was like, what? I can't believe it. I mean, I've been working so hard at this. And then he would break it down and then kick me in the leg a few times and show obviously how it's supposed to be done, and then you just kind of work on from there. And every experience we had after that was just such a huge, not only learning event, but it was almost like just an event in itself, because he'd push so hard, and he'd work us so hard. And back then, I was all about just training and hard work and seeing how far and fast I could push myself. And that was a guy that would just not only help you along, but beat you along at that point in time to get you moving. And every year we'd get a little bit more time with him at the Smoky Mountain Camp, and I remember the one year we were there, and it was a 2-week camp, and it was hot, and he would always have all the guys take off their shirts, and here I am, pasty white as you can get anyways, and we're out in the sun and just doing shadow boxing and rounds, and he was holding rounds up in the ring and counting off rounds, and all of a sudden you'd see one guy kind of boom, fall over, and then he'd train a little bit, another guy boom, fall over. And I remember he would just tell him to go put him in some ice or something, go put him in water and ice, and I'm just going, oh my God.
Drag him off and ice him down.
Exactly. And I was just cracking up. But that, to me, was probably one of the funnest camps, because we really got to be a little closer to Guru Dan and Ajahn Chah and Sifu Larry and all the rest of the guys, because they were right there with us, camping and training along with us too, and doing stuff, and it was just a really great experience at that time. As I got a little bit older, I was about to graduate in college in 1989, and decided I want to go to California and spend some time out there and see if maybe that's where I want to go. So I moved out to California, and I ended up staying with Ajahn in his house for quite a few months. So every morning we'd get up and cook us breakfast, and he'd make me do all these little odd things. Like one day I would have to do the switch kick, but just the switch stance part, switch walk, switch walk, switch walk, switch walk.
Yeah.
And he started having me do it in the parking lot in his townhome. So I'd be like, okay, and he would say, okay, I'm going to go inside for a while, and he just said keep going. So I was up and down the parking lot, and I'd kind of stop for a second, look up at the window, and all of a sudden I hear this, keep going, And then I'd be like, oh. And I must have done it for almost an hour, and my left calf was just dying, and I was just like, geez, when is this going to end? And you just keep having me do it, and then every periodic time it kind of slow down for a second, and then I just hear this same thing, don't stop. And so I'm like, man, this guy is watching me, I can't believe it, or sensing when I'm about to fold up here. And so we would do stuff like that every day, and I'd really get up in the morning and have the opportunity to timing spar with them and do all these little things that were really unbelievable, and just learned so much in that time, not only about obviously Thai boxing, but more about Achan, and he plays the organ, and wait until after I'd fall asleep, I'd hear his little organ up in this room going off, and then wake up in the morning, he'd be up, and I'd be like, man, I don't think this guy sleeps either, I don't know what's going on here. And so that was a phenomenal opportunity to be able to spend, literally months, right under his tutelage. And every weekend, of course, he'd be going off for a seminar, and then I would, during the days, a lot of times I'd take off to the academy and go train at the old Glencoe Academy.
Guru Dan.
Yes, Guru Dan School. And Yuri Nakamura was just coming there. And initially he was there. He never told Guru Dan he didn't shoot wrestling or anything. He was there for Jean Fan martial arts, and then all of a sudden he showed Guru Dan Shudo, and then the Shudo classes started, and Pendekar Paul Dutois was doing C-Lock classes at the time, and so we just had these different opportunities with Salem, Savat, and so it just was really a great time, where I could just do nothing but sit there and train, and 22, 23 years old, and just living the life.